Hello, I'm Professor Kino, and welcome to my Office of Cinematic Antiquity. Today we'll be continuing the series of my top 10 favorite films. Coming in at number 7 is... When Joel and Ethan Coen's March 6, 1998 film, The Big Lebowski, first opened, it was not all that successful critically or through its box office intake. However, as the years passed, the film began to gather followers and has since become a cult classic, spawning avid fans, a convention known as Lebowski Fest, and even a full-blown religion known as Dudism that has its own manifesto, holidays, and quite a few followers. And the reason for this is because the film itself is so unique that it is difficult to categorize and even more difficult to completely understand. Consequently, the film sparks entertaining discussions and debates among those who have seen it. In fact, there have been several academic papers and books that have tried to decipher the intended message of the film, but in the end, almost everyone comes to a different conclusion. In my opinion, I think this film just has different things to offer to different people, whether you want to scour its frames for an underlying social message, uncover its hidden political agendas, or just watch it for some pure unadulterated fun. The movie has something for everyone. And the following is about what the film means to me, and why I consider it to be one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. Premise. When an unemployed bowling aficionado, Jeffrey Lebowski, aka The Dude, attempts to seek recompense for an incident caused by a case of mistaken identity, he gets dragged into an unexpected scenario involving kidnapping, $1 million, nihilists, pornography, pornographers, intrigue, and violence. Writing. Judging on its premise alone, this film probably sounds insane, and on the surface it definitely is. It is so unique that I struggle to find a single other film to compare it to. It is just The Big Lebowski. Its story is incomparable. But it's not the film's wacky nature or different characters or unexpected plot points that make it so great, or at least not only those aspects. What makes this film so great is its heart and message. In the first scene, we are greeted by the song Tumbling Tumbleweeds, along with narration by a deep and comforting southern voice by none other than Sam Elliott, and we are introduced to the setting, Los Angeles, and our protagonist, Jeffrey Lebowski, aka The Dude. And through this introduction, we are told or shown everything we need to know about him. He is a lazy man, as seen through his bathrobe and comfy clothes in public. He even pays for his 69-cent milk with a check, but there is just something about him that seems calm and tranquil. Not even President H.W. Bush's speech on television that claims war will soon be started with Iraq and Saddam Hussein phases him. He is at peace. The cashier might be judging him, but he does not pay any mind to it because he is free. His life is not perfect in any means, but he is content with it. He is happy with where he's at. He does not need to dress fancily or show off because that would not be who he is, and he is not trying to be anything other than that. He is just drifting along peacefully and going with the wind, just like the tumbleweeds. After this scene, the dude returns home and he is suddenly assaulted by two men looking for a millionaire named Jeffrey Lebowski and the money that this Lebowski's wife, Bunny, owes Jackie Treehorn, a well-known pornographer. One of the men beats the dude and the other urinates on the dude's rug until they realize that he is the wrong Lebowski and leave.
Woo?
Yeah.
Isn't this guy supposed to be a millionaire?
Fuck.
Yeah, what do you think?
He looks like a fucking loser.
Hey, at least I'm housebroken.
A little perturbed by this incident, the dude approaches the other Jeffrey Lebowski, the Big Lebowski, to ask him for a new rug, and this decision sends the dude down a strange path where he collides with a plethora of wacky characters. The thing is, none of these wacky characters are comfortable with themselves. They all have problems that they pretend do not exist. Because of this, most of them are so worked up with their own issues that they are blind to the problems of other people around them, and oftentimes act very selfishly. The Big Lebowski is so obsessed with compensating for the fact that he's a cripple that he overcomplicates things and forgets what it is to be a good man, a good husband, and a good father.
What makes a man, Mr. Lebowski?
Dude.
Huh?
I don't know, sir.
Walter Sobchak, one of the dude's bowling friends, suffers from PTSD from the Vietnam War and depression from his wife leaving him. But he refuses to admit his sadness, so he lashes out in anger at those closest to him.
Man, if my fucking ex-wife asked me to take care of her fucking dog while she and her boyfriend went to Honolulu, I'd tell her to go fuck herself. Why can't you board it?
First of all, dude, you don't have an ex. Secondly, this is a fucking show dog with fucking papers. You can't board it, it gets upset.
Hey,
its
man.
hair falls out.
Walter.
Fucking
no.
dog has fucking papers. Over the line!
Maud Lebowski, the Big Lebowski's daughter, suffers from an absentee father who loves his own image more than her. But instead of admitting that she just wished her dad was prouder of her, she complains about her father, acts very pretentious, and takes out her frustration by being sexually aggressive.
Does the female form make you uncomfortable, Mr. Lebowski?
Is that what this is a picture of?
In a sense, yes. My art has been commended as being strongly vaginal, which bothers some men. The word itself makes some men uncomfortable. Vagina.
Oh, yeah?
Bunny Lebowski, the Big Lebowski's wife, puts on this act of being a rebellious, carefree party girl, but it is all just a cover for the fact that she is just a scared girl running away from home.
Our guest has to be getting along, Mrs. Lebowski.
Oh, you're Bunny.
I'll suck your cock for $1,000.
Brandt, the Big Lebowski's personal assistant, makes himself work for people who are powerful because he lacks confidence in himself and tries to find success for himself through other people's achievements. He does not know how to find confidence in his own achievements.
This picture was taken when Mrs. Reagan was First Lady of the nation. Yes, not of California.
Chuck?
In fact, he met privately with the president, though unfortunately there wasn't enough time for a photo opportunity.
Oh, Nancy's pretty good.
Oh, wonderful woman. We were very happy to...
And the villains, the nihilists, are just pretend nihilists. They are revealed to be failed musicians who just pretend not to feel anything because they are ashamed of their failures and lack of success and don't want to show it.
You think we are kidding or taking with the funny stuff?
That's what you think. You haven't dreamed of Lebowski.
Yeah, he believes in nothing.
He believes in nothing, Lebowski, nothing.
Consequently, because of all this selfishness, the only casualty in the film is, and here's a spoiler alert, Donnie, another of the dude's bowling friends. Donnie is not too happy with his life either. He's extremely lonely, but he never bemoans that fact and instead keeps it bottled up. But because everyone else is so self-absorbed in their own issues and lashing out at those around them, no one sees that Donnie is suffering as well, and in the end, he dies from a heart attack after the nihilists confront him, the dude, and Walter.
20 grand, man. And of course, I still get to keep the rug.
Just for making a handout?
Yeah, they gave dude a beeper. Also, whenever these guys call.
What if it's during a game?
Oh, I told them if it was during league play.
What's during league play?
Life does not stop and start at your convenience, you miserable piece of shit.
I figure.
What's wrong with Walter, dude?
I figure it's easy money, you know.
Everyone is so busy pushing around everyone else so that they can deal with their own problems that Donnie, someone completely unconnected to them who has problems of his own, ends up as collateral. All in all, the other characters' problems that are left hidden because of shame and self-consciousness end up boiling over and harming not just themselves, but those around them as well, both physically and emotionally. And at the center of all these colorful characters is the dude, someone who, on the surface, is no better than any of the others. But he differs from them because deep down he is perfectly content with his life and does not try to pretend to be anyone else. He is who he is, and he is not embarrassed by that fact. He may seem a little oblivious at times, but that is only because he knows exactly what makes him happy, and is accepting of his own problems and flaws. And because of this, he is the only character who is not self-absorbed. He is the only character who can help others because he is not trying to hide himself.
Walter, what am I going to tell Lebowski?
I told that fuck down at the league office. Who's in charge of scheduling?
Walter.
Burkhalter.
I told that crowd a fucking 1,000 times I don't roll on Shabbos.
Walter.
They already posted it.
Well, they can fucking unpost it!
Who gives a shit? They're going to kill that poor woman, man. What am I going to tell Lebowski?
And that is why he is the center of the story. He has failed at things, he has done some dumb things, he is not a perfect human being, but he is fine with that. He just drifts with the wind like the tumbling tumbleweeds and is able to find happiness no matter where he ends up. And through all of this, the Coen brothers craft a beautifully wacky tale about coming to an understanding in your life, about being yourself, and about being content with what you have, who you are, and what you've done. And once you've accomplished this, you will be a better person to both yourself and to those around you. And there is just something remarkably beautiful in that. Acting. Jeff Bridges plays the dude, and he is simply perfect and iconic in this role. He is funny, calm, and just a pleasure to watch. He acts just like someone who does not have a care in the world, but is still a good man. He is just living life the way he wants to, and Bridges makes the dude someone that you would want to meet and be a friend with. David Huddleston plays the Big Lebowski, and he is pretty good. He shows off the character's obnoxiously rich, arrogant, and aggressive side, but also shows the character's vulnerability. Behind his arrogant stature is still that crippled man that is just trying to hide. John Goodman plays Walter Sobchak, and he is really good here. He is funny, but also extremely rude and has a visible sadness in his eyes and actions that undermine his aggressive attitude. You laugh at his ridiculousness, but also can't help but feel sorry for him. Goodman is just fantastic here. Steve Buscemi plays Donnie, and he is great here as well. While he's not in the movie all that much, he seems like the most normal out of everyone in the film. You kind of want to hang out with him in real life, but you also do see the loneliness in his eyes and a slight hurt every time Walter yells at him to shut up.
He lives in North Hollywood on Radford near the In-N-Out Burger.
Oh, the In-N-Out Burger's on Cameron.
Near the In-N-Out Burger.
Those are good burgers, Walter.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
You feel bad for him, and you just kind of want to comfort him and be his friend. Buscemi is great here. Julianne Moore plays Maud Lebowski, and she is also really good here. She is a perfect, cold, cliched artist character. A little pretentious, a little odd, and her daddy issues just shine through it all. You sort of want to hate her because of how seemingly distant she is emotionally, but Moore plays Maud in such a way that the reasons for her flaws are obvious. Tara Reid plays Bunny Lebowski, and she is good. She plays the spoiled Los Angeles girl well. She is decadent and anarchistic. She seems to lack any self-restraint. But while Reid does a good spoiled girl, she is not as good at showing Bunny's layers of homesickness. The lack of this, however, does not do the film a disservice. Philip Seymour Hoffman plays Brant, and he does a perfect servant. While definitely not as compelling as the other characters, this is actually a compliment on Hoffman's part. Hoffman plays someone who is never the highlight of the scene he is in, and that just drives home Brant's issues with self-confidence. He is very good. And finally, Peter Stormare, Flea, and Torsten Vogt play the Nihilists, and they are perfectly obnoxious. Like many people who consistently self-proclaim themselves one thing or another, they keep saying that they are Nihilists, and it is grating because they're so obviously not. But that is exactly how their characters should be. Costumes, hair, and makeup. Many of the characters in this film are dressed perfectly in the costumes made by Mary Zophres to fit their personalities and problems. The dude is dressed in mismatched clothes, bathrobes, and boxers, and he is sporting a shaggy beard and long hair. This perfectly captures his lifestyle and personality as someone who does not have a care in the world. The Big Lebowski wears a fancy suit and is clean-cut and shaven. He is trying to hide his disabilities behind a facade of quote-unquote success. Walter wears cargo shorts and a cargo t-shirt, which both have a heavy ex-military-like influence, which just shows that he is still living in the past. Donnie is dressed in his work clothes and jacket, the clothes of someone just trying to get by. He does not stand out, which just makes his loneliness more noticeable to the audience. Maud is either naked or just barely covered up by a bathrobe-esque dress/jacket. This pushes forward her artistic personality, but also her sexual aggression. Bunny is dressed in very noticeable clothes, such as a green bikini, in order to distract people from her actual problems, like her homesickness. Brant dresses in a basic suit that does not make him stand out when near anyone who he deems more successful than himself. And the Nihilists wear biker uniforms, but they don't really seem to fit them aesthetically. They are trying to seem distant and badass, but it just does not work on them because they are just pretending, so the biker clothes end up looking more like costumes than uniforms. Each of the characters' personalities and problems are mirrored through their clothes, and it all just ends up being perfect for the film. Set design. There are a lot of sets, and while I would not say any of them are awe-inspiring, they are all well done and drastically different from each other. The bowling alley is exactly like a bowling alley. The Big Lebowski's house is overly decadent, which just shows off his vanity. Maud's studio apartment is very artsy, as it should be, etc., etc. The biggest standouts here, however, are the designs of the dream sequences, aka the best drug-fueled vision dreams ever put on celluloid. They take sets, characters, and events that we have seen throughout the film, but distort them to fit the dude's imagination. They are funny and spectacularly awesome. Choreography. There is not too much action, but when it happens, it is all well done. It's all ridiculous and funny, but that just fits tonally with the film. Additionally, the choreography during any of the main scenes with music is also handled very well. This is particularly true during one of the dream sequences that involves a strange, trippy dance number/musical. Cinematography. Roger Deakins was the cinematographer for this film, and while not his best work, he still crafts some very good shots and setups. There are a few character interactions that stick in my mind that visually sum up the dudes, Walter's, and Donnie's relationships with each other. In each of them, the dude and Walter are on the ends talking with each other while Donnie is in the middle. And in each of these scenes, the dude and Walter manage to talk without ever really acknowledging Donnie, and Walter tends to lash out toward him. All of these scenes highlight Walter's anger and Donnie's loneliness with excellent precision. There are also some great character introductions like that of the Big Lebowskis, and many of the shots during the dream sequences are also quite great. It is all handled expertly, despite none of it being particularly flashy or jaw-dropping, but this actually fits the film well. Editing. It is done very well. The conversations are spliced together competently, and the action is spliced together to make it all flow in an understandable fashion. And additionally, the way the edits are handled in the more musical scenes are very well done. Cuts and motions are timed with the beats and the lyrics, and it makes the scenes that they are in fun to watch.
Man in me will do nearly any task. And as for compensation, there's a little he would ask. Take a woman like you to get through to the man in me.
CGI. There is a little bit of CGI, at least it looks like CGI, in the dream sequences, and there are also a few green screens. Both the CGI and the green screens are noticeable, but this was the late 90s, so they are comparatively very well done. Music. The score is not typically noticeable, but there are a few licensed songs that fit wondrously, namely Tumbling Tumbleweeds, which perfectly sums up who the dude is.
Cares of the past are behind. Nowhere to go but I'll find.
The Man in Me, which deals with people's desire to hide who they are within themselves.
Man in me will hide sometimes to keep from being seen. But that's just because he doesn't want to turn into some machine.
And Just Dropped In, which is simply the best song to be played during a drug-fueled dream sequence.
I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
Direction. The Coen brothers were able to craft a unique story with The Big Lebowski that has a deep message to it. But even though the film's message is thought-provoking and at times dark, every aspect of the film, from its action to its acting to its music, all helps maintain a humor and ridiculousness that makes The Big Lebowski a joy to watch. My enjoyment. This is my favorite Coen brothers film. It is funny, odd, and heartfelt. I can watch this film repeatedly and not get bored because it is just so quotable, and even amidst its deep and actually quite dark themes, the film remains hysterical. I can't get enough of the dude and his adventures. Recommendations. This film is for fans of comedies and cult classics, people who are looking for something original and unique, or if you are a Coen Brothers fan who has not seen this movie before. This is not for people who are opposed to cursing, don't like their films to be surreal and odd, or don't like their comedies to be too deep, because this film definitely has a message to it, and there is a purpose behind its madness and absurdity.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I will be continuing this series of my top 10 favorite films in my next video. Until then, I'm Professor Kino, and I look forward to our next discussion.